Beau Is Afraid is directed by Ari Aster and stars Joaquin Phoenix, and this was my most anticipated film of 2023, mainly because of Ari Aster. Now, if you don't know, I made my first review about, I want to say 6 years ago, and it was Ari Aster's Hereditary. So, without Ari Aster, there would be no The Fancy Filmmaker. This channel would not exist without Ari Aster's work. So, I feel like it's my due diligence to review his movies, even though I did miss Midsummer because I was busy when that film came out. But I have such a strong respect for the director, and when this movie was announced, I was so hyped to see it, and after seeing it, I don't know what the fuck I just saw. Following the sudden death of his mother, a mild-mannered but anxiety-ridden man named Beau confronts his darkest fears as he embarks on an epic odyssey back home. So there have been huge talks about this movie all over Twitter. People are saying it's great, people are saying it's terrible, some are saying that this is Ari Aster's best work, some are saying that this is his worst movie he's ever made, and it's in fact a career killer for Ari Aster. Okay, this movie's not a career killer. Far from it. But did I like this movie? I don't know. I kind of love it, but at the same time, I kind of hate it. I have no idea really how to express my feelings about Beau Is Afraid. There are so many things in this movie that just work and are absolutely phenomenal. But on the other hand, there are things that were just put into this movie that makes zero sense and left me wondering, what did I just witness? What was this movie even about? There are many people out there who are going to think this movie is absolutely genius and how it's one of the best films of the year and how it's one of the best films Ari Aster has ever made. And on the other hand, you're going to have people who think this is a pretentious piece of crap that's 3 hours long. Yes, this movie is 3 hours long of just pure crazy nonsense. But like I said, I kind of loved it. It's very weird to express how I feel about this movie. There are just so many things that I need to talk about. The film stars around Beau, played by Joaquin Phoenix, and his character is pretty much a low-life loser. He doesn't have many friends, he lives in a crappy neighborhood. You don't know what his job is, but you can tell he doesn't make a lot of money. He is just someone in life that has not made it far at all. In fact, most of the movie is about him dealing with his mommy issues. This whole movie is pretty much just a 3-hour therapy session for Ari Aster's mommy issues, in my opinion. This movie is just a complete therapy session. I have no idea how else to describe this movie. Imagine if Homer, when he wrote the Odyssey, did 10 pounds of cocaine before he wrote that story. That's Beau Is Afraid for you. This movie is just absolutely insane. Performance-wise, all the acting is absolutely incredible in this movie, especially from Joaquin Phoenix. This is one of his best performances that he's done in his career, in my opinion. Yes, some will say that this is very similar to his performance in Joker, because he's playing this secluded, no-life loser. But for me, I think it works for the film, for this performance. He does an absolute great job. In fact, all the side actors do great too, especially a standout is Nathan Lane, who plays this smooth, hip doctor who tries to act all hip and cool. And he adds so much funny charisma to the film. And yes, the film throughout the entirety is hilarious. And this film is absolutely gorgeous as well. This is one of the most beautiful looking movies I have seen in a very long time. It's got great cinematography, the lighting is great. All with Ari Aster's films, he has a very unique style to how he makes his movies, and this one is no different. By the very first frame, I was like, oh yeah, this is made by Ari Aster. I can just tell from the very first shot. And there's a middle sequence in the movie that is completely animated with some great visual effects and great animation, great art style. It's absolutely breathtaking. This film is actually released in IMAX, which I think this is the first A24 film that was released in IMAX. And it definitely is worth seeing in IMAX. I didn't see it, unfortunately, in IMAX, but I'm very tempted to go back to the theater just to see this in IMAX. And this movie is actually a really big risk for A24 because this is their most expensive movie that their production company has made. I think it was around $35 to $50 million for the budget, which is just insane for an A24 film. Most of their movies are like, at most, 20 million. So this is definitely a big gamble for A24, and it's clear they're not going to make their money back from this movie. I hope they do, but I don't think they will. But you can truly just see every piece of penny that was put into this movie on the big screen. Everything is just beautifully crafted with Beau Is Afraid. So the biggest thing I think that's going to make audience members split on this movie is how it's structured. Like I said, this movie is long. This movie is 3 hours long, and I don't think it deserves to be 3 hours. I enjoyed the movie, but it definitely does not deserve to be 3 hours. It could have easily been 2, maybe 2.5, but definitely not 3. And the first third of the movie is very strong. It's very energetic, super fast paced, it's written amazingly, and it keeps you invested. But the second third of the movie is definitely the slowest bit, and I can feel that's when it's going to lose some audience members, and audience members are going to get bored. And the final third of this movie is the biggest, what the fuck am I even watching? It is the biggest, what I have ever seen for a final third of a movie. There are so many things that happen at the end of this movie that just left me just flabbergasted and just speechless. I don't want to go into spoilers because I do want people to see this movie and have the same reactions that I did when it comes to being shocked by the ending. But the final third of Beau Is Afraid is just, which does lead to like one of my biggest criticisms of Beau Is Afraid, is that it feels very disjointed. The movie is just over here, go here, go here, go here, all over the place. And it kind of leads to nothing. It's very weird. The ending is just, oh, movie's over. Okay, we're done. Everything you just witnessed kind of led up to nothing. I mean, I can understand what the movie was going for. The movie feels like one giant panic attack, and that's what Ari Aster was going for. He wanted this movie to seem like you were having a 3-hour panic attack, and he definitely succeeded. But as I was watching Beau Is Afraid, I was just wondering, okay, what's the hook? What's the catch? What is this leading to? And in that final third, everything that it's leading towards is, like I said, just so out of the box insane that I have no other words to describe it. And the story for this film is just weird. It's so weird. Ari Aster describes this film as a Jewish Lord of the Rings, and he's kind of not wrong. It's Beau going from his house to his journey to his mother's place, and the journey is just so crazy and so out of the box insane that you just have to think to yourself, who came up with this? What is going on in Ari Aster's mind where he can come up with this kind of stuff? And as the story progresses, it just gets so uncomfortable as the film goes on. Like I said, Beau is dealing with mommy issues in the movie, and the whole film is just about him just unpacking all that trauma. And it just gets so uncomfortable as the film goes on. Like, you ever been to your friend's house and him and his mom start to argue and you're just sitting there awkwardly as your friend and their mom argue? Imagine that, but for 3 hours. It is such an uncomfortable experience, this movie. But like I said, I somehow liked it. I don't know. It's so hard to describe the enjoyment that I had, or like the unenjoyment that I had for this movie, because some parts I didn't like and some parts I really liked. Beau Is Afraid is one of the weirdest movies I have ever seen, and I can't help but commend it for making me think in a way that no other film has made me think before. Though, like I said, this film is way too long. This movie did not need to be 3 hours long. 2 hours, maybe. 2.5, you're pushing it. But 3 hours of this movie, of just absolute just panic attack insanity, and it just kind of leads up to, I can't even say what it leads to because it's a spoiler, but it's so fucking weird. And I won't lie, I kind of left hating this movie at first. I was thinking when the movie ended, that was 3 hours of nothing. Like, nothing happened in this movie. Like, this movie just wasted my time. But the more I thought about it, the more I slept on this movie, and the more I just kept on thinking about what this film was trying to tell and what it was trying to convey. I think I love this movie. It's so weird. There are so many things that I don't like. Like the pacing is weird and the story is just uncomfortable and kind of leads to nowhere and makes no sense. But the story is also why I love the movie, because it makes me just think in no other way that a film has made me think before. It's so weird to convey, like, what I think about this movie and how I truly feel about it. And at the same time, I feel like this movie is a good discussion piece on allowing directors to have full control. And what I mean about that is Ari Aster had 100% full control. No one told him no on anything, and it shows. And I feel like that's a good discussion on if maybe we should have someone on the sidelines telling directors maybe to ease it back a bit, maybe not to put this in the movie, maybe leave this part out, instead of letting directors do whatever the heck they want. I'm all for directors having creative freedom, but I do think that maybe we should have someone on the sideline that should just kind of be like, maybe ease it back a bit, Ari Aster, maybe not put this thing in the movie. And those who have seen the movie know what this thing is. You just, oof, this movie. Oh my god. Beau Is Afraid is definitely a film that a lot of people are gonna immediately go to YouTube once they see it and try and find, like, Beau Is Afraid, ending explained, or movie explained. And I'm very curious to see what audience members come up with, because I have my own theories. I read some theories online that are very interesting. This movie is going to be a phenomenal discussion piece, and I'm very much looking forward to it, even if the movie is just astronomically just out there. Like, there are people who are going to see this movie and detest it and think it's the worst film of the year, one of the worst movies they've ever seen in their entire life. This movie is not for everybody. If you're just a casual moviegoer, stay far away from Beau Is Afraid as possible. Stay away from this movie. But if you enjoy A24 films and you enjoy Ari Aster work, definitely give this one a shot. I definitely want to know what y'all's opinion on this movie is. Please leave comments on, like, your theories and what the film is about, because this movie is going to be such a phenomenal discussion piece, and I can commend that. There are no other films out there that truly make me think like this film did. I'd rather see a film that is just astronomically crazy and have things that I liked and have a lot of things that I didn't like about it, but leave an impact on me and make me think about this movie for a while, than a film that I see and just forget about it like 2 days later. This film is definitely going to leave an impact on how I think for at least a week. This movie is going to leave some weird theories in my head. And like I said, there are people out there who are going to detest this movie, and there are people who are out there who are going to say that this movie is a complete masterpiece and one of the best films I've ever seen. For me, I'm definitely leaning more towards I like it quite a bit for how much it's making me think about it and how much, like, the story and the just absolute insanity of this film just makes me just enjoy it, I guess. But at the same time, there are so many things in this movie that did not work for me, and I'm like, did that really need to be in there, Ari Aster? Did you really need to put that thing in? And like I said, those who have seen the movie know what that thing is. So is this Ari Aster's best work? No. I still think Hereditary is his best work. In fact, Hereditary is in my top 5 favorite films. But is this a career killer for Ari Aster? Nah. He's gonna still make crazy movies, and I'm gonna be there opening night for every one of his releases. Even if this one didn't fully work for me, I still had a really good time just because of how much it's just making me just think about this movie. I know this film review has been very, very vague because I can't really go into spoilers. If you want me to make a spoiler review, let me know in the comments. But as a whole, I'm just glad that a movie this crazy and this just out there exists. Because like I said, I'd rather see a movie that's going to leave an impact on me and just make me think than a movie that I'll forget in a couple days. So, Beau Is Afraid, for the panic attack insanity that this movie is, it kind of worked for me. It kind of worked. which is why I'm gonna give Beau Is Afraid 7 panic attacks out of 10. Guys, if this is your first time here and you like what you've seen, be sure to subscribe for more content. And have you seen Beau Is Afraid? What did you think about it? Be sure to let me know in the comments down below. I hope you have a fantastic night. Take care.